It's 1 mile deep, there's no easy way in, no easy way out, and more than 900 people have fallen to their death here at the Grand Canyon.
You're listening to Travel FOMO, a podcast for people self-diagnosed with wanderlust.
Welcome to the Travel FOMO podcast. My name is Hilarie, and I am here with my grand husband. Not grand. It almost started to sound like I was going to call you like my grandfather or my grandson.
What exactly is a grand husband?
I don't know, but I wanted to do that. I don't think it worked, guys, but here we are. Today we are talking about the Grand Canyon in Arizona. We went to the South Rim. This was back in, November of 2022. Loved it. You cannot go to the Grand Canyon and not just be blown away every time you step out of your vehicle. It's insane.
It is just so massive.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard. It's hard to really understand and comprehend, even when you're standing on the edge of it.
Yeah.
I remember looking out, and even I think it actually helped that we brought binoculars and looked, because then you can look out with your binoculars and see details of stuff so far away, but is still in the foreground of the massive canyon that you're looking at.
Right.
And it just gives you more of that sense of depth. It's just so big.
Yeah.
That and it is one of the things that we were just talking about. It's one of the things that you have to go see.
Right.
And it is one of the 7 wonders of the world. So up there with Mount Everest, the harbor at Rio de Janeiro, the Northern Lights, the Great Barrier Reef, it's one of the wonders of the world, the natural wonders of the world. And so you really have to plan a trip to go see it, but it's so hard to comprehend even when you do.
Yeah. It's so powerful too. I remember I've been looking at the footage, right? And been editing the video that you guys can see now that's out there on YouTube. And it blows me away, because it's one thing to kind of just stand there and look at it. It's another thing to walk beside it and you see all the dimension moving.
Yeah.
You see all the depth, kind of play out. And it's so different than a photograph. A video, is just so much more impactful. And so anyway, as I was looking through the footage, I was reminded of that. I was always also reminded how many people are there and how they're coming from all over the place. 17% of the people that come visit are from another country, which I actually thought it was a lot more based on our experience, and also just based on the footage I was listening to, all these people talking, and it reminded me that there's so little English being spoken when you're standing there taking photos. You hear all these languages, but not a ton of English.
It was really interesting to experience that. This was toward the end of gap year, but for those 3 months in Europe, when someone would speak English, it would stick out to you. Because you're on a train or you're in a crowded place or something and everybody's talking, but most of it is in, French or German or Spanish or some other language.
Yeah.
And so when someone would speak English, you'd kind of be like, oh, wait, I can understand that. But then we came back to the US and Canada, and there's just so few other languages that are here, and they really stick out. But there at the Grand Canyon, I remember us talking about there's so many other languages being spoken right now, and that's really cool. It just shows you how interesting and how, I guess, world famous the Grand Canyon really is.
Yeah, totally.
That people are I have to go to America, and when I'm there, one of the things that I have to do is see the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, it's so massive and so well known. It's kind of like a lot of other national parks too. You arrive and it is jaw dropping from the moment you arrive.
Yeah.
I love that with some of the national parks. There's this moment where you see what it is they came for you to see. And it is just this moment where you're just like, whoa, that's it. Oh my gosh, I get it now.
Right.
And I love that about the Grand Canyon as well. Some fast facts about it. It is a mile deep. So everybody likes to measure things in America according to the Empire State Building. So if you want to do that, it's 3 Empire State Buildings. It is pretty long too. It's 277 miles long. One thing that I found really interesting while we were there is that the South Rim is like 1,000 feet in terms of elevation. It's lower by 1,000 feet than the North Rim. So the South Rim is 7,000 feet. The North Rim is 8,000 feet. I think that's really interesting. If you're hiking rim to rim, your hike would be a lot shorter going down from the South Rim, and then going up that North Rim is gonna, it would be like quite a bit longer to get to the finish line. This was all formed, the Grand Canyon was formed by the Colorado River, and there's a couple dams that are that have been put in place also to help really rein in that Colorado River. And that's the Glen Canyon Dam, which is to the north of it, and then the Hoover Dam to the west. And I say that because it all is clicking with me. By the time we got to the Grand Canyon, we'd been to Page, Arizona, where Horseshoe Bend existed, and the Glen Canyon Dam that they're talking about here. And then we went to the Hoover Dam, which was just in one of our last episodes.
Right.
So you guys can go back and see more of those, but it kind of helps you piece together that map of America and kind of what's happening on either side of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because the way we kind of had to set up our travel, there were like high points where we had to be certain parts of the year. And so if we'd been doing it by what's closest, like we would have done all of this stuff sort of toward the beginning of our trip, when we did come through like Zion and Page and all Utah and everything. But just the way that we had to time it out, we sort of had to come back.
Yeah.
And so it was a little strange to be back in an area, but it also seemed so different.
Yeah, totally.
And at times seemed so far, because we had traveled for so long in between.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Like the interconnectedness of that part of the United States is really, really interesting.
And you can't just jet across the Grand Canyon in your car.
Right.
So you have to maneuver around it. So it makes sense that we wouldn't maybe be on the south side of the Grand Canyon at this point or something, But yeah, the temperature also is really interesting, because if you're up at the top, it is freaking cold. And the coldest temperature ever recorded was on the North Rim, which makes sense because it's a little higher in elevation. It was negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit, and that was back in February of 85. And then the warmest that's ever been recorded was 120 degrees in the bottom of the valley of it all, at a place called Phantom Ranch. And that's where you can, if you're hiking down, you can enter a lottery and stay there overnight. You can get a meal. If you're camping, you could get a meal there and stuff like that. But and that warmest temperature actually happened multiple times during some summer months. But yeah, it's pretty extreme in all kinds of ways.
It really is. And to think of like all of that existing in an area that you can physically see from one vantage point is crazy. It's crazy that like I'm looking from a vantage point here across this canyon, and it would take me literally an entire day to go from the point where I am to the point that I can see.
That you can see, yeah.
It's just mind-blowing.
That is fascinating. And then it's like so freaking steep. Like it's a mile deep. You can't even see the bottom.
Right.
And I've heard about people that look down and they can see actual thunderstorms happening within the canyon.
That would be wild.
And you could look from up above to see it, which I think it would be crazy. Also, like when you're standing there, there's a very real sense. Obviously, they can't put a fence up around the entire Grand Canyon because that's miles and miles.
Right.
But you do realize like how scary it is and how possible it would be to fall into the Grand Canyon.
I think that national parks are really interesting, particularly for America, because everything in America, we're so litigious that everybody gets sued all the time. And so everyone puts all these things in place to protect us from ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But then national parks are very much a like, hope you make it kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, this is like very dangerous. And
like you should know the danger you're getting into.
Yeah. And it's just such an uncommon thing to see because our everyday lives are so protected. So then when you do come across something that's like, oh, this is really serious, it kind of, you're taken aback a little bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like that happens in national parks a lot.
Yes. How many people do you think die at the Grand Canyon every year from falling alone?
Every year?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm really scared of heights. So getting close to the edge, it seems like such an insane thing to me that I wouldn't think the number would be that high. But seeing the people that are in national parks makes me think otherwise. Like, how many is it?
All the people we saw just while we were taking photos was like tons of people walking up and cramming onto rocks and stuff like that.
Right.
It's like a person a month.
Wow.
One person a month is like falling into the Grand Canyon. I have to correct myself. That is deaths from like falling. It could be helicopter crashes. It's probably other things as well. It might be hiking as well. Okay. People who die from things along a hike or something like that. But I would imagine falling is top of the list.
Yeah. And still, like, that number is really high.
Right. Yeah. Like once a month, you're going to be carrying out somebody in a body bag or not. I mean,
think if you said that about like Disneyland.
Right.
You're like, oh yeah, like one person a month dies.
Right.
Like that would freak people out.
Right.
But the Grand Canyon, like, people just keep pouring in.
Yeah.
Well, and we had both, I mean, this wasn't either of our first times to be there. Like, we had both gone before, but I think both of us had gone in a way of like, well, it's here. We're going to go kind of like check that box or like touch the base real fast.
I'm like an hour away. I might as well do it.
Right. Yeah. Because for me, I was with my cousins and my Aunt Lisa and Papa Bo, and we were on our way to Vegas from Oklahoma. We're road tripping. We're like, well, it's not that far. Let's just go and see it. And it was literally like park, walk to the edge, and be like, oh, it's big. Let's go to Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think your first time was something pretty similar, right?
It was. Yeah. I was driving through. It was in March of 2020. So everything was shutting down for COVID. And I was trying to get back to Texas before everything shut down. And I had Maggie with me, and I stopped to take pictures. And as soon as I started taking pictures, it started snowing and you couldn't even see the Grand Canyon. And I thought, oh, how ironic. I came here for this view and I can't even see it. I could see it for like maybe 5 minutes, probably less even. Yeah. It happened so fast. But yeah, it was kind of crazy.
You know, it's funny because when I went for the first time, it was cold too. And we were going to Vegas, so we didn't have like big coats.
Oh, okay.
And I remember being cold out there, like looking at it.
And surprised. I was so surprised at how cold it was.
Yeah. Well, and, I mean, the cold even changed our plans on this trip. Like,
good point.
We both knew how cold it could be, and we had planned on spending like 5 nights.
Yes.
At the Grand Canyon, and we were going to camp at like in the Grand Canyon itself, like in the national park, but there were no hookups.
Yeah.
And so as we got close, like it was right after Thanksgiving, so late November, and we
were actually going to camp just outside the park at a place called the Grand Canyon Camper RV Village.
Oh, that's right.
And it's not actually in the park. And I think it actually had hookups. It was still just going to be in the teens. It was going to be so low. It still wasn't reassuring.
That's right. It was going to get so cold that we were like, well, we don't want to take the chance of our pipes freezing
again,
and all of the craziness. And so we ended up staying in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
And so we're like, we'll do a couple nights in Flagstaff, and then we'll go early, which if you are subscribed, you can come with us. Our next episode in Sedona, where the weather was a lot nicer.
Oh, it was so good.
But we're like, we'll go early to Sedona,
yeah,
and just do a couple nights in Flagstaff where it'll be a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
Still really cold at night.
Oh, it was still rough.
But
yeah.
better than the low teens that we were going to have to deal with. So
Yeah.
if you are planning a trip to Grand Canyon, just know like it gets nasty cold during the winter.
Yeah. And it gets super busy. And we were there the weekend of Thanksgiving. I think the day after Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so busy, tons of people. It took forever for us to just drive into the entrance of the park. It was like back to back, multiple lanes of cars, back to back. Even trying to take pictures on the trails, there was just people in every photo. But we got to spend some time on the trails, spend some time at the visitor center. The trails actually are really nice right there. As you come up on the South Rim, like they're all paved. Like if you've got somebody in a wheelchair, there's not a lot of elevation change. Mm-hmm. It's really enjoyable to go take a nice long walk. And we had Maggie, we could take her everywhere we wanted to.
I will say, if you have only been to the Grand Canyon, it's not a representation of the typical national park.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like really crowded,
mm-hmm.
kind of everywhere,
mm-hmm.
like tons of people. Well, and even just the stuff they had, like we went to the Grand Canyon Village and there was a little tavern there where we had lunch.
It was good.
Yeah. I think I had like an elk burger or something like that. And they had like
a Christmas ale.
Yeah. They had like a seasonal menu and kind of stuff. They were even selling like mulled wine and things like that, which was cool. And it's just not, a lot of that stuff you won't find in your typical national park.
Right.
And there are places in every national park that get crowded, but not to the level of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Like it was just busy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if you are considering coming to the South Rim, there's the North Rim and the South Rim. The South Rim is in Arizona. Your instinct is going to be, as you drive up, to veer to the left. I don't know why. We both had been doing that. But in this trip, we decided to also see what happens if we drive to the right? And it's crazy how you can see incredible views from your vehicle just driving whenever you take that route. And so if you're coming to the South Rim and you pull into the entrance and, your instinct is going to be to maybe go park at the visitor center on the left or something like that, if I'm remembering correctly, I definitely remember you want to go to the right and you start driving. There's less people. The trails are right there in front of you as well, but you could literally never get out of your car and you could see the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, and initially it looks like it's going to take you away from it.
Yes.
And so you're thinking like, well, I'm just going to be driving back into like trees and stuff. But it very quickly gets you right back to the edge of the canyon.
Yeah.
So fast.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many different things people could do if they come to the Grand Canyon. So you could make this a 15-minute trip.
Right.
Or you could make it, a week long. There are mule rides that are available that, can take you down into the canyon. You could hike it, obviously. You could go rim to rim, which is a really extreme hike. You could do helicopter rides, which a lot of people enjoy doing, even from Vegas, I think. I believe Ashley and Carl, my cousin and her husband, have done that. And there's river rafting. You could do 5 days, 9 days, 14 days on the river. That's kind of what I want to do because it's so extreme. I'm like, that sounds so wild. That would be so cool to do the whole river. And you would basically have a guide take you down with a group and you would camp alongside the river in different places. We talked to this one guy in Colorado who had done it. And they literally slept, didn't they? They would sleep while the raft was still moving at night.
Yeah,
him and his friends.
a couple of nights in the parts of the river where they knew it was safe would sleep at night.
That's wild.
Not sure that I could poo in a bucket for 14 days.
Well, I get that too. The other thing that I thought was really fun is that there were tons of people riding bikes on all of these paved trails with all these incredible views. And I thought, wow, that is such a great idea. A lot of families doing that. Also, if you've got a little one and you need to put, you've been driving for hours and hours and y'all need to get out of the vehicle, all of these paved trails are great for strollers.
Yeah.
That would be so great if you're like, oh my gosh, we need to break up this trip. How can we do it? Like, go to the Grand Canyon, go on the trail, have, use your strollers and stuff like that. And then there's also a shuttle that'll take you to different viewpoints and stuff. So you can kind of make the trip whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. I mean, there are there are a lot of really cool options. The rim to rim hike, like you mentioned, and you can either carry your own stuff and like camp in a tent. Mm-hmm. There are like places for that, or you can enter the lottery to stay in Phantom Ranch, which I think would be really cool.
Yeah. You can also have mules take your luggage down.
Yeah. Yeah. They've got like mule trips and things like that. I think that the Phantom Ranch will be really cool. It would make it last a little longer and also break up the hike some. I think there are people that like see the rim to rim hike as like a big physical challenge and get in really good shape to like do the hike in a single day, which I can understand and I can get that. But I think like,
I cannot imagine doing that in a single day.
It seems like a lot, especially because you're going down first.
Yeah.
Like canyon hikes. I just much prefer a mountain hike to a canyon hike because you like get the hard part out of the way and go up, and then like you're kind of just making your way back down. Whereas this is the opposite, and I would think would be really rough. But
I just can't imagine doing it in one day. That's insane.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, and there's a lot of cool stuff to see at the bottom of the canyon, aside from like Phantom Ranch and that sort of like man-made stuff. But there's incredible waterfalls, like bright blue waterfalls, and like Havasu Falls and all this kind of stuff that you can also see at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, which I think would also put you at a place that not a lot of people get to. I think a lot of people check the box of like walking to the edge.
Right.
And like, I saw the Grand Canyon, but then like actually going down and hiking in it, I think puts you at a different place with it. And I think would be more of that national park experience, which we haven't done yet, but I would still like to do at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'd have to be careful too. I was looking up stats, and 250 hikers are unprepared and they end up getting rescued every year. 250. That's almost a person a day.
I could definitely see that, especially because it is that canyon hike, kind of like we talked about, of like you kind of make your way down and then you just can't get back up.
It's so steep. Yeah.
I feel like with mountains, people probably get to a point where they like make it halfway up a mountain and realize like, I can't do this.
And they can turn around. Yeah.
And they can kind of like make their way down and take some breaks and be okay. Whereas if you're down there and you're stuck, like you're just stuck and you have to get rescued.
That's crazy. Well, you mentioned Havasu Falls and these incredible bright blue waterfalls that exist. And there's also in that area, there's also an Indian reservation called, I believe it's called Supai. And it's at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And I hadn't heard about it until just recently, honestly. And it's supposedly the most remote community in the lower 48 states of America. And it is technically not the Grand Canyon National Park, which makes sense because most Indian reservations would be their own territory anyway.
Yeah.
But so it's right outside the national park. You can hike down to it. It's only accessible by foot, by mule, or by helicopter. So imagine
That's
like
crazy.
there's no vehicles in the whole town, I would assume.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's the only place in America where mail is still delivered by a pack mule, which sounds really, really outdated and old. But there's no other way, you know? And then you do need hiking permits if you decide to go down there. And note that it is an actual community. So YouTubers have gone down there and tried to film it and things like that, and they actually ask you not to. Because it's where they live. It's their real functioning community, and they ask tourists to respect that by not filming them.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really interesting.
That is really interesting.
Yeah.
It does sound like one of those things that someone on some political show would be all fired up about like the U.S. Postal Service still has mules.
Oh.
Or like finding something like that to be like, there's still a line item budget for mules and things like that.
That's funny. Yeah, I could totally hear that.
There's this crazy little town where that's the only way to get there.
Yeah. How fascinating, though, to think that even exists. I didn't even know that.
I didn't either. No idea.
I think the Grand Canyon would be a great place to go and do the extreme hikes. Let it take a while. Try not to, push it too much, and just enjoy nature. And I just feel like if you're at the Grand Canyon, you're closer to God because it's you can't not think about like, how does this exist?
Yeah, it really is a special place. And if you don't want to actually go and stay there, Flagstaff, where we stayed, is a nearby city that's really nice, where you can get an Airbnb or something like that. There's actually a train, like an old-fashioned train, that will take you from Flagstaff to the Grand Canyon.
Oh,
at one point, like train robbers like robbed the train and stuff in old funny. Like cowboy fashion. So there's stuff like that you can do as well if you want to have a fun time and incorporate the Grand Canyon into it. Flagstaff is a cool place too.
Yeah. Well, and it's all not far from Sedona and Jerome, Arizona, which you're going to be hearing about in our next episode. This next episode coming up is the last episode of the Middle of Nowhere season. So there's that. And we've got some evolving that we're going to do with the podcast at that point.
Yeah, so Sedona and Jerome are our last like real stops on our gap year. Like we went and spent time with family after that for the holidays, and we camped with some friends and just for ourselves, and then came back to reality and got jobs and things.
Yeah.
We still have adventures to share with you, but we're going to change it up a little bit. We are going to actually start filming the podcast. So if you're listening and that's how you consume the podcast, nothing will change for you. It will still be our voices. You'll still be able to listen from all the places that you listen to now.
Yeah.
But if you are one of our YouTube subscribers, you'll actually be able to see us have our interactions. We'll overlay some footage from the various places that we've gone into our conversations to kind of help augment that and just be companions. So our side videos will go away. It'll all be our podcast conversations. But we'll incorporate footage into it and just make it a better experience for all of our YouTube audience out there as well. So we're excited about that. Could be a little crazy. We haven't done that format before or edited that format before.
We're going to try it out.
So
yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll also see us kind of break down these stories that we're telling on the podcast. We're going to break them down to some bite-sized pieces. So there'll be some, you'll still get regular videos from us, and hopefully you'll see us in your feed, maybe even a little bit more than you do now. Ultimately, it's just another way of storytelling that we're going to try out for you guys. And in the meantime, you guys know where to find us. We are available on social media. We're out there on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and YouTube, of course. And then we also have an email address where you can reach out to us.
Yeah, Travel FOMO podcast at gmail.com. If you want to ask us a question or let us know some of your stories or have some advice you'd like for us to share with the Travel FOMO family, send it to us there. It's just a great way to engage us as we evolve into the next chapter of Travel FOMO.
That's right. And you guys, life is short.
Wander well.